Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of AV in the Films.
Some men just want to watch the world burn. Starting tonight, people will die. I'm a man of my word.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I have talked about this movie at some point or another in this show, and I realized I never gave it its own review. I want to give it its own review because I started thinking about this movie again. With October coming up and Halloween coming up, you know, for those of you who are too young to remember, or probably weren't even born when this movie came out, this was the highlight of 2008 when it comes to film. Okay, everybody was talking about this movie. Everybody had to see it, and everybody that walked out of this movie, 95%, loved this film and said this is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. And I really believe, even though this is done by Warner Brothers and it's still DC, it's not Marvel, I believe that because of this film, superhero movies are the way they are, or the way they've been the past 10, 12 years. I really do believe that. Now, I'm going to talk about this movie. You all know this movie. You all know the lines. You all know what this movie's about. Either you love this film or you don't love it. I have to talk about this movie, and I can't believe I've never given its own review before. So here's what's going on. Here's what happened with me, okay? So it's 2008. I'm 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school. This was summer. I was going into my sophomore year in high school. Okay. So, I have never been a big fan of comic book movies. I never have been. Never was as a kid, not am today. And to this day, of all the Marvel movies, the only Marvel movies I've ever seen are Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2. And I thought Volume 1 was pretty good. Second one I thought was really panned out. But that's it. Because comic book movies were never really my thing, you guys. It's just not... I wasn't really into that. Now, as a kid, what did we have coming out back then? Well, we had the Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. Well, those I love. I went to see those in the theaters, and I loved those. I still love them. I love those movies. But when it comes to Batman, I had never seen the Batman movie, the one done by Tim Burton, both of them, and Batman Returns. Hadn't seen those. Batman Forever I had seen when I was a kid, and I did like it mainly because Jim Carrey was in it, and I was a Jim Carrey fanatic when I was a kid. Batman Forever, I know it's corny and childish, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine. And Batman and Robin I never liked that, never really got into that one. And so Christopher Nolan starts directing these, and Batman Begins comes out. Now, when that came out, I was 12. That was 2005. I didn't go see it. I didn't get... Because, again, I wasn't really interested in Batman. I really wasn't. I don't know why. I never... I never grew up watching Batman the Animated Series, and I never... Because Batman the Animated Series was kind of before my time. I mean, that was in the early 90s, I think. I mean, I was born in 93. Okay, so... Yeah, and I never really got into the comic books. I never really read the comics. And the only time I've ever really seen Batman was the Adam West TV show. They would show reruns of that on some station when I was a kid. When I was a little kid. So I would watch some of that, but that was it. So The Dark Knight comes out, the sequel to Batman Begins, and everyone loved Batman Begins. I remember when that came out, everybody was saying, oh, it was really, really good, it was good, I liked it, it wasn't, it wasn't focusing too much on the villains like the other Batman movies were in the 90s, but Batman Begins did it in a way where it felt like it was made for grown-ups, you know what I'm saying, like, it felt like, oh, I see what Bruce Wayne is going through, okay, they have to redo the whole story again with Batman, but it was, people said, oh, it was good, but I had never seen it. The Dark Knight comes out, and I was not going to go see it. The only reason I went was because everybody that left the theater, in the reviews, people on the street, because again, the internet wasn't that advanced yet. YouTube was a thing, but the internet wasn't a big thing. It wasn't as advanced as it is today. And again, this is 12 years ago. Everybody hailed Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, wow, okay. You know, because I remember hearing that he had passed away, and I was no Heath Ledger fan. It's not like I didn't like him or anything. I just thought, I didn't love him, I didn't hate him. But I remember seeing him in The Patriot. I remember hearing about him in Brokeback Mountain, so I kind of knew who he was, and I knew that he could act. I loved him in The Patriot with Mel Gibson. But I had never seen A Knight's Tale. I had never seen 10 Things I Hate About You, but everybody was saying, oh, this is like Hannibal Lecter, this is like a great performance. Everyone was saying that. I was like, wow, okay, I gotta see this. So I went to this movie with my dad, and we went to the theater to go see it. And when I left, I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I did not like The Dark Knight when I first saw it because I didn't understand what the film was doing. And again, this is something that will happen to me to a lot of Christopher Nolan movies as time went on. Because the one he did after this was Inception. And I have a whole backstory about that, but I'm talking about The Dark Knight now. But when The Dark Knight came out, I remember leaving the theater and I'm like, what was that all about? Like, the Joker, okay, he catches the Joker, all right. Harvey Dent kills himself, or he gets killed, and Batman walks away saying, I'm the villain, and that's the end of the movie. And I remember thinking, what did I just watch? I was so confused, because again, I didn't read the comics. I did not know Harvey Dent is going to be Two-Face, and this is ironic because I've seen Batman Forever. You know what I mean? So it's like, how did I not know that Harvey Dent is going to be you know what I mean? Like, how did I not know that? Even though I hadn't read the comics, I had seen Batman Forever. Like, that's one of the villains. Like, how did I not know? But again, it's done here in a different way because here, again, it feels like it was done for grown-ups. Let me tell you something. You want to know what The Dark Knight is? This is a mob movie with superheroes and supervillains in it. That's the best way I can describe it. And it's done in a way that, okay, yeah, there's a guy running around dressed up as a bat, but it doesn't come off as a childish thing. It doesn't come off as something for children. Like, this is something for, like, adults. You know what I mean? Even though it's PG-13, but, I mean, Heath Ledger blew me away, man. Like, that was the #1 thing I loved about this movie. Oh, like, I looked at him as the Joker as something that's, like, irreplaceable. Which is funny, because when he got the job of being the Joker, everybody laughed at that. Everybody said, no one can replace Jack Nicholson's Joker. No one can replace him. Oh, man, were we wrong.
But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever. And why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No.
I think everybody was the Joker for Halloween that year in 2008. I was. And some of my other friends were in high school, yeah, because we just loved what Heath Ledger was doing with this character. Because it was like a whole new thing. Like, nobody had ever thought to do that with the Joker. And Heath Ledger found a way. And it was really interesting to see that and to see what he could do with it. And now, what I love about this movie, because I've seen it again, I have it on DVD, okay? And what I really like about this film, this was the movie that got me into Christopher Nolan, because as time went on, I started to understand what he was doing with the movie, because I went into this movie not even knowing it was a sequel. I didn't know this was a sequel to Batman Begins. I thought this was just, okay, this is the next Batman movie. Because I thought Batman Begins was like the sequel to the other Batman movie. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't in the loop of these films. And looking back on it, it's so ironic that that at that time I hadn't seen Batman and Batman Returns, because I've always been a huge fan of Tim Burton. I don't know why I didn't see those. But But I love and again, you know, okay, there's a lot of over-explaining in this. I mean, it's Christopher Nolan, that's bound to happen from time to time in his movies, but it doesn't matter. I love, and okay, if I had to nitpick one little thing other than too much explaining, Christian Bale doing the voice when he's Batman, you know, get shitty to show you that it's full of... Like, okay, that I understand he's trying to disguise his voice so nobody knows it's him, but it comes off as kind of funny and humorous. I'm sorry, it just does. And in The Dark Knight Rises, it really does. So, I really, really enjoy... You know, watching Heath Ledger play the Joker, it almost kind of reminded me of something like Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch, or Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil, or Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Like, they just get so so involved into this character that they're making that they're almost irreplaceable. Like, I can't imagine anyone else playing the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. I can't imagine anyone else playing Cruella de Vil. And that's a remake, by the way. But, and again, same thing with Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka. I can't imagine. Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice. Can you imagine anyone else playing Beetlejuice? Of course you can't. That's how good Michael Keaton was in the role. And Heath Ledger, same thing as the Joker in The Dark Knight. But he's not the first one to play the Joker. But that's how good the performance is. You know, he did this whole new thing with it. I remember watching the scene in the movie theater when he's meeting with all the gangsters and you really see the Joker for the first time. We've seen him before in the bank robbery scene, in the first scene of the movie. But when he comes in and he meets with all the gangsters, you know, he sits down, he does that scene, it's that little trick with the pencil.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone.
Everyone in the theater was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. And, the one great, I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? When I was in the theater was packed when I saw this. The scene when Bruce and Alfred are watching the TV and that guy who's dressing up as Batman has been captured by the Joker and the Joker's recording him on the camera, that whole scene, that was the first time we ever hear him do the laugh. You could hear a pin drop the minute that was over. Everyone was just... Like, I looked around, everyone was like this.
Batman must take off his mask and turn himself in. Oh, and every day he doesn't, people will die. Starting tonight. I'm a man of my word.
I still remember seeing that scene in the theaters, and I was real... When he started doing the laugh, I had a big smile on my face. I was impressed with him.
Alfred, right?
That's right, sir.
Any psychotic ex-boyfriends I should be aware of?
Oh, you have no idea.
And also, I think the reason why I didn't like the movie originally is because I thought it was going to be what the other Batman movies had always been, or what superhero movies had always been before this came out. And that was good versus evil, you know, battling it out for the good of Gotham, and then the hero wins, the villain loses, end of movie. What's new about this one and the way they do it here, and again, this is why a lot of people like the movie as well. Again, over-explaining it, but Heath Ledger explains it at the end of the movie when he's upside down and he's talking to Batman, and he goes, "You didn't think I was going to risk the future of Gotham's soul in a fist fight with you. No, I just needed a white knight. Mine's Harvey, the ace in the hole." You know, and really, that's what he was doing the whole time. He was trying to take Harvey Dent and turn him into what he would become, and that, which is Two-Face, the villain. And it's done in a really, almost like, just the way the mind works, the way the way the Joker talks and the way he sees things and the way, again, everything's over-explained in every scene that he's in. Even the interrogation scene with him and Batman, the scene in the hospital with Aaron Eckhart, which I thought was really good. Every scene that, and it's not just Heath Ledger, every scene that all the characters are in, Aaron Eckhart, Gary Oldman, Michael Caine, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Christian Bale, Morgan Freeman, all of them, they all have just enough screen time, you know? Like, it's not like, oh, you know, like, okay, like, no one overshadows anybody in this movie. Everybody's got their own equal amount of screen time in this. And it's done really, like, this screenplay is really, really good. And it works as a psychological, it's almost like a psychological thriller at times, because the Joker's doing things that will lead to this, and that leads to that, and you're starting to piece it together. And you got Bruce Wayne wanting to stop being Batman and trying to find someone who can be the hero that Gotham really needs, and that's Harvey Dent. But now the Joker's coming in to ruin that, and he doesn't know, and it's a really interesting little movie. But again, these are all things that I didn't pick up on at the time. I didn't see, because I just went to go see this because everyone said Heath Ledger was phenomenal. And I'm like, well, I got to see it now. And that was the only reason why. And I remember thinking that in the theater. But as time has gone on, I've watched the movie over and over again. I'm like, oh, this is better than I remember it to be. Like, and now I know why everybody loves the movie. It's not just Heath Ledger's performance. It's the story. It's the characters. It's everything. And it's not just the fact that it's another Batman movie. Because this one, I think, gets, aside from the two Batman movies that Tim Burton did in 89 and 92, this is the best one, I think. I mean, this is the one that gets all the attention, really. Especially out of the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I mean, this is the best one. And rightfully so. I mean, like, every scene in this movie is better than the scene before it. And that makes a good movie. One good scene after another. I've talked about this before. So, and again, there's a couple of moments in this movie where Heath Ledger would go, I think it was improv. Like when he's blowing up the hospital and it doesn't blow up and he's looking around, he's like, and then it blows up. That wasn't supposed to happen. That was, but he's playing for because he was so into the character. And, oh man, I'm trying to think of all the other good, and the way it's edited, like whenever there's rising tension and it goes from this cut to this cut, and this is going to make this happen, but no, like, there's little moments like that in certain scenes in this movie, and that's done really well.
Just tell me it's not Wayne. The guy's a complete...
What are you doing?
I've come for it.
We made it.
Stay hidden.
This movie was not nominated for Best Picture. Oh my gosh, everybody flipped out over that. Because at the time, and I think still to this day, comic book movies are not looked at as something that could win Best Picture. But you never know. I mean, take a look at Beauty and the Beast, 1991. That's a cartoon, and that was nominated for Best Picture. That had never happened before. You know what I mean? But The Dark Knight, everybody was hoping The Dark Knight was going to get nominated, at least nominated. It never did. But at least Heath Ledger got the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He got it posthumously, obviously, because he died 7 months before the film came out. And that's really a sad thing, because he must have worked hours on crafting the Joker. I've seen documentaries on his friends and collaborators saying, like, what he did, you know, when he was working on the movie. And, oh, that's such a shame he wasn't alive to see the release of The Dark Knight. You know, had he been alive to see what he did, but he knew what he was doing, you know, he crafted it. But if he could see the reaction from the world when that movie came out, oh, that would be great if he could have been around to see the reaction that this movie brought. That was unbelievable. But I love this movie. I think it's one of the best superhero movies ever made. Everyone in this movie does a really good job in here. And if you guys haven't seen this movie yet, check it out. You don't have to see all the other Batman movies or even Batman Begins in the beginning to get this. There are some things in this movie that are linked to Batman Begins, obviously, but it's a couple of small scenes. But for the most part, this could be an original, you know, Batman release instead of the second movie. Yeah, this is one of the best. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. The Dark Knight is one of the best Batman. You know what? This is the best Batman movie ever made, hands down. That's just how I feel. So, guys, those are my thoughts on The Dark Knight, and I will see you guys in the next review. Take care.